Right, let's bring you back to Gauteng now, particularly in Johannesburg. The search for missing churchgoers in the Jukskei River is continuing this afternoon. At least 14 people died after a flash flood washed worshippers away over the weekend. The group of 33 were taking part in a baptism ceremony. Let's go to our reporter Manqoba Mchunu, who joins us now with the latest. Manqoba, it was so heartbreaking hearing the church, for instance, during media reports yesterday say it should be 15 bodies that are found, but rescue operators saying there were 33 worshippers and therefore they're not only going to leave the number to 15. What's happened so far today?
Well, Masiko, I can certainly tell you that it is quite a tragic story, and in fact, we saw some of the families arriving here at the Sandton fire station trying to get some sort of information from the Johannesburg emergency services as to whether they had made any inroads in finding some of those that are presumed to have drowned by now. And of course, some of them quite emotional, they're quite distressed and distraught, as well as, you could understand, Masiko, as to the events that happened on Saturday. And I spoke to one family, Masiko, in particular, that lost 3 of their family members. They did not want to speak on camera, but just relaying the trauma that they're going through at this particular stage, saying that they would not even want to speak on camera about this particular trauma. They lost a 3-month-old infant, they lost a 3-year-old girl, as well as their grandmother, who was washed away with those congregants on Saturday evening. And I can tell you, Masiko, that at this current stage, the search and recovery operations have stalled, and this is due to the rainy weather that we're seeing in Johannesburg today. We're not quite certain at this particular point whether they will resume at all, but what we have been told by emergency services is that those search and recovery operations have not started at all today due to the bad weather conditions that we saw. And earlier on, we did go to the scene where this incident had occurred, Masiko. We saw remnants of what happened there on Saturday. We saw candles on the floor. We saw some pieces of clothing that are still remaining at that particular spot. But also, just when you get to that spot, Masiko, there is evidence that, this is an area that is used for ritual. This is an area that is used by many for various rituals and traditions that are carried out. And we saw some people there that were carrying out some of those rituals as we got to that particular scene. Just to show you, Masiko, that this is one of the areas that was widely used in that particular area by congregants who go to that particular church. And we have also been trying to piece together, and try to find this particular church and speak perhaps to some of the church members about this church. But what we do understand, Masiko, and this is from community members in Alexandra as well as community leaders, is that this church did not have a premises in Alexandra. It's one of the churches that, set up just next to the Jukskei River, and that's where they were worshipping and, where they are known to have been worshipping before this incident had occurred. So they don't have an actual church premises where they do go, but we understand that they worship next to the Jukskei River. But I've got Robert Mlauti here just to give us an update so far on what's happening with those search and recovery operations. Thank you very much, Robert, for your time. Let's start here. First of all, just give us an update. Are search and recovery efforts continuing?
Yes, we are continuing. With just an update about, our work from Saturday. Saturday, we did manage to recover the 2 bodies, and then the lady who was rescued and was transported to hospital. The number of people who are at hospital now, to speak, is 2. And then yesterday, from 8 o'clock in the morning up until around 6 when we left here, we have recovered about 12. So it brings the total number of bodies which we have recovered to 14. That's where we stand now. Hence, today we're still continuing. The reason why we're still continuing is that yesterday when we were doing our body identification, there were about 3 families who were also still concerned that amongst the people who have recovered the bodies we have recovered, their family members are not there. So hence we say, deemed it fit to say that maybe we must continue with our search so that we can be able to also to assist those families who are still worried about the whereabouts of their family members. So we're hoping that the weather conditions will permit us to continue to conduct the search throughout the day today.
But currently, is the search going on, or has it been halted due to the weather?
Yes, right now we don't have any members on the ground, or we just have members who are stationed here at the fire station. So for us to allow the weather conditions to permit us to be able to conduct the search. So the rescuers will still remain here throughout the day to make sure that as and when the weather conditions permits us, we can be able to continue with the search, because we have made a commitment to those affected families and members to say that we will do our best to make sure that we assist them to find closure. Of course, the message still continues. We still, if you look at the weather patterns this week, we are told that we're still going to have a lot of rainfall. So we're still pleading with our congregants out there to say, please, as and when they conduct this kind of rituals, they need to make sure that they exercise caution and all the safety measures are taken into consideration so that we can be able to prevent loss of life. I mean, 14 life loss is too many. You know, these kind of incidents can be able to prevent if we exercise all the safety measures.
Do we know at this stage, Robert, how many are still unaccounted for? How many congregants have not been found? You did allude to the fact that some families are still looking for loved ones.
Yes, we don't really know the exact number. The challenge here is that there is no attendance registers to say so and so was attended the ritual, but we are using the information we're getting from the incident. Like the information we got on Saturday was that the people were 50, and if you look at the number, we're already sitting on 14 people. But because of the other families who are still, the 3 families who are still saying that they might still have their families who are still missing, we're hoping for the worst, because we might still even recover even maybe more bodies because of the situation that they didn't have any attendance or registers to say how many people were in attendance. So from our side, we will do our best to make sure that we assist the families to find closure.
And what do you know so far, Robert, in terms of those that have been found, their ages, and where do they come from?
Yes, the total number of people who were part of the ritual initially on Saturday afternoon, it was 33. We know that the youngest person who was part of the group is 3 months, and the oldest person who was part of the group is 60 years. So I will say it's between 3 months and 60 years old.
Okay, thank you very much for that update. That was Robert Mlawudzi from the Johannesburg Emergency Services, just giving us an update as far as the search and recovery operations are concerned. As you can hear, Masiko, they've stalled currently because of the rain, but they are hoping that they will resume them once the weather clears up. Of course, the family is still looking for answers, Masiko. We know that some of the families have asked for privacy. They are quite distraught about what happened. In fact, I spoke to one family member who was also there when that incident happened, telling us how traumatized she was. She held onto a branch and was, washed away by the water. She apparently, just meters or a few 100 meters away, managed to pull herself out of the water. So they're still quite traumatized, Masiko, but also still trying desperately to find their loved ones.
All right, so Manqoba Mchunu live for us in Johannesburg with that heartbreaking story. Let's leave it there for